Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Chatting Category Romances. This is a channel devoted to category romances that I'm doing with Sarah, the Bookish Knitter. And we're going to keep chatting about romances to you until you hike us over 300 subscribers. And if you think by that sentence that I mean that once you do hike us over 300 subscribers, we'll stop, no. No, then we're going to be eyeing 500 subscribers. But we're talking about category romances. So not the normal mainstream romance where the author gets a bigger contract and they get a wider distribution and their book will be then in the backstock area of a good bookstore's romance section. Sarah MacLean or Eloisa James, they write a new romance novel and it gets a big spread. It gets on the USA Today paperback best-selling list. And then when it's no longer in the heyday, it just becomes part of their section in the backlot of, in the backstock of the romance section. That doesn't happen with category romances. Category romances are in and out. If you could find a bookstore that has them, new, they get the latest spread. When I was working in a bookstore, I had 2 spreads a month, one at the beginning of the month and one at the middle of the month. When those boxes came in, I unpacked them. I stacked everything according to what genre it was, what category it was. And then I went to the shelves where the category books were displayed, and I just strong-armed the whole lot of them off. No, I couldn't keep any of them. It used to break my heart when the old ladies who were my customers for that section of the romance section, almost invariably every month, one of them would come in too late and say, oh, there was a Harlequin Presents or something that I really had my eye on. They're all on fixed incomes. So my heart just broke for them. There was almost no way to get them a copy. Fortunately, in those cases, I came to know a lot of those ladies so well that I knew what they would want, or they would finally overcome their old school embarrassment and tell me what they want. I would make sure that I had those copies of those books for them to buy, even when it was time. But for the most part, 99% of it, I just swept all those things off. They were all going to be gone in order to put the new ones out. And therefore, categories are a little bit more evanescent. Unless you've got everyone all over the country, there are used bookstores that sort of specialize in just wall after wall after wall of old category romances. Some bookstores won't have anything to do with them, like, for instance, my beloved Brattle Bookshop, because the numbers are endless. If you started doing that, if you opened the door to use romance novels, you would never have room for anything else. You'd be buried in truckloads of them. But that's what we're talking about on category romances. Those kind of romance novels. Not the mainstream ones, but the category stuff. And for today, I picked a book that conflates with another BookTube event. Chatting Category Romances is a channel. Sarah and I are going to talk about category romances until she's old and gray. But there are also BookTube events that come and go. And one of them for June is June on the Range. It was created by Michael K. Vaughan. Sarah's enthusiastic about June on the Range, so am I. I'm one of the co-hosts, and cowboys, to put it mildly, come up in romance novels. It's like Sarah always says, no matter what kind of book you like, no matter what kind of fiction you like, romance has something that will cover it. And I often advise people who are wondering how they can get into romance as a genre, that that's the way they should do it. If you're a big science fiction fan, read some romance science fiction. If you're a historical fiction fan, Harlequin puts out historicals every month. You can practically pick your period. It's not all Regencies. But I think for the month of June on Chatting Category Romances, I won't exclusively do cowboy romances, but I'll do a lot of them. And that's what I'm doing today. And today's pick, I think, is also just a meta example of how evanescent category romances can be. Because in addition to this book, I don't think this imprint exists anymore. Sarah would know. She's the expert, but I don't think I've seen these on the Harlequin website. This is a Harlequin Blaze novel. This is by Kelli Ireland, and it is Cowboy Strong. Can't imagine what attracted me to it. It must have been the literary chops of the author. But we'll actually be getting to the literary chops of the author, because I do have something to say about that. But this is Harlequin Blaze, number 886 from 2016. So this was still going on in 2016. I don't know if it's still going on. I could swear I haven't seen this on the Harlequin website. But as you might be able to tell from the cover, and also from the title of the imprint, this is not sweet and clean. The Blaze novels that I have read, I've read a few of them, Well, they go right to it. When it gets to the romance part, they go right to it. Or if they don't go right to it, you know that it is on the table. Not literally on the table, although in some Blaze novels, sure, they can't wait. So let's just sweep the cutlery off and do it on the table. But if you, you know what I mean. In a lot of Harlequin stuff, in Harlequin Love Inspired, for instance, like we saw the other day, there is no hanky-panky at all. Maybe a kiss. But everything that's happening along those lines is going to happen after the last page, just like in Jane Austen, just like in classic Regency romance. It's all going to happen after the last page. That is DEFCON 5 for clean romance. And then DEFCON 4 would be one where there is hanky-panky, but it's behind closed doors, and the doors are closed to you, the reader. You will, the author is not going to narrate those scenes. They might happen in the course of the novel, but you're not going to see them. And it's just a kind of tacit arrangement. They're all adults here, and you know that. You just have no interest in reading it. You want to read the other parts of romance. I think that takes a lot of skill to do well, especially in the 21st century when you know bloody well what your readers are expecting to see. There is no discretion or taste in the 21st century. But in this book, not so much. Despite the steamy, steamy cover, not so much, for a very good reason, for a medical reason. This is an entry in a series of Blaze novels, I think all by Kelli Ireland, about the Covington brothers. I think this is the last one in the series, but much like Sarah, the goddess of this channel, I'm not all that concerned with reading category romance series in series order. Not only because that sort of takes the fun out of exploring just at random, but also for an element that Sarah has never made it. She just says, deal with it. I'm going to read these things out of order. Those of you that drives crazy, prepare to be driven crazy. An element of why you could successfully do that she doesn't always stress, maybe because she knows a lot of these authors, for all I know she knows Kelli Ireland, is that it's a testament to the skill of the ladies who write these things. That you don't ever feel, no matter where you go in on a series in category romances, you don't ever feel like you're out in the cold. You don't ever feel like you need to read 2 or 3 other books. And that's definitely true here. I'm not sure that I've read all the Covington novels. I think I've read one. And I think I read it because, let's just say, the covers reflect the Covington brothers' family resemblance. Let's just call it that way. Somewhere out there in cyberspace, Sarah is just chuckling because we are occasionally on this channel. She runs her channel the same way I do mine. Neither one of us wants to talk. We don't want to descend into Grey's Anatomy. So soon, at periods when we're talking about these things, especially when we're talking about Blaze or Dare or whatever, we're going to have to tread lightly. But the reason why that isn't such a big element in this book is medical. Because we're dealing here with Ty Covington, who is a rodeo rider. And he has a major rival, Kenzie Malone. And as is true with so many category romances, it's not just them who are rivals, it's the families who are rivals. The Covingtons don't swim in money. The Covington boys have to work hard for everything they get. And the Malones don't. And that causes some bad blood. But it's just the old-fashioned medical kind of blood that opens this book, because Ty Covington and his horse, a hilarious detail on Kelli Ireland's part, Ty Covington and his horse both have a major accident in the ring. And they're both laid up for the course of the book. And that means that for chapter after chapter after chapter, Ty Covington has the galling experience of being the patient by random chance, by the mechanisms of a romance novel. He ends up being Kenzie Malone's patient. So he's in the full gear. He's in a neck brace, arm braces, that sort of thing. And then he gradually gets better, slowly gets better. The time frame of a recovery here is not ellipsed like it is in Hollywood movies. Slowly he gets better so that he's using a walker. But for a long period in this book, if he and Kenzie, because the more they spend time with each other, the more they're going to like each other. And the more they like each other, the more they're going to want to Zoom with each other. And I don't mean the social media app. The better he gets, the more he feels like doing that. But for many, many pages in this book, if he acted on what he thought, he literally popped stitches. So he can't do it. And that gives Kelli Ireland a chance to write a different almost a different kind of romance. Don't get me wrong. The rodeo prize is still won, if you know what I mean. Sarah and I are going to have problems with these euphemisms. You get your Blaze money worth in the course of this book, but I got the distinct impression throughout this that I could be wrong. I don't know these authors, but I got the distinct impression that Kelli Ireland was kind of liking the fact that her characters couldn't immediately start steaming up the sheets, that she had to concentrate on other things, on personal interaction, including some wonderful scenes, because she lets Kenzie speak for herself. Kenzie can't stand the fact that the Covingtons think that the Malones are just all, silver spoon and nothing else. She says to him at one point, let's see here, I had no idea you thought so little of my skill, Covington. She's still calling him by his last name early in the book. Normally I wouldn't address such nonsense, but this is one thing I'm compelled to settle. You may consider me entitled, but I work every bit as hard as you do, if not harder. I put in just as many hours in the saddle, in the barn, and on the computer to perfect my breeding program. She's talking about breeding horses. Kindly get your mind out of the gutter. No one can claim that's done with any sense of entitlement, since I do it all myself. I'll pit my work ethic against yours any day. That is wonderful. That happens in the 30s of the book, and it immediately endears Kenzie to you. That is heartfelt. You get the sense that the Covingtons, including Ty Covington, don't treat her fairly. But that doesn't let Kelli Ireland entirely off the hook when it comes to writing. I want to read you another couple of lines that are almost physically painful. just so you're ready. Take a little Sudafed, because I've talked before, what I talk about romance ease. This isn't even that. I don't know what this is. I don't know how I got by an editor. He's thinking about Gizmo, who is the injured horse. When he says, Ty fought to control his emotions. If he got stressed out, Gizmo would pick up on it. But seeing his horse like this, stiff and hurting, divided him. One half wanted to rage against the injustices heaped upon each of them, him and Gizmo. The other half wanted to fold into himself and crumple on the floor until someone came along and picked up the pieces. He'd never been a man to give up when hardship reared its head. I know you're thinking, that's it, but oh no, it gets so much worse. But this was more than your average hardship. This particular experience was better described as having been TKO'd by hardship and beaten up by his posse members, pain, misery, and hopelessness. I kind of want them to do a number on me so that I don't have to read about being TKO'd by hardship and then beaten up by his posse. Oh my God. but I want to stress that is a rarity in this book. The raw emotional immediacy of the first passage that I read you is by far predominant in this book. And because Ty Covington really can't punch them dogies for a long stretch of the book, we get a very satisfying, the gimmick here, the romance gimmick, is enemies to lovers. And sometimes that can be rushed, sometimes that can feel very artificial, but if you're spending time with someone, if you're helping him get to the bathroom, well, then it could be natural, and it feels very natural in this book. It was very, very enjoyable as a kind of a crossing of the streams of chatting category romance and June on the Range. So I may very well, I'm kind of hoping for chatting category romance to do a lot of new releases. The Harlequin website does not make that easy to do, but I'm still going to try. And a lot of the new releases for instance, July, don't involve modern-day cowboys or historical cowboys at all, and I'm still not going to pass them up. But and I think I can get through the Harlequin website if I can figure out how to code break my way in. I think I can get those July releases in June. But for the month, I think a theme that I will recur to here on Chatting Category will be cowboy romances. So, the category romance world is full of cowboy romances, historical in the Old West and also contemporary. So, we shall see. But that is my book for today, Cowboy Strong. What's that you say? I didn't need to show the cover one more time? Oh, okay. So that's my romance for today. I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.